That country. Joining us is Behnam Ben Taleblu, the senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies there in Washington, D.C. And Behnam, let's talk about what this means for Iran to have the political leader of Hamas killed in Tehran on the day of the inauguration of the new president.
Great to see you, Kalev. Yes, indeed. It's quite the conundrum. About 12 hours before Ismail Haniyeh's killing, he was chanting "Death to America" and "Death to Israel," seated alongside other senior members of the Iran-backed Axis of Resistance, to include Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, as well as Lebanese Hezbollah. He had met with Iran's new 9th president, Mr. Pezeshkian. He had a sidebar meeting with the supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, and that's precisely why Ali Khamenei has called for, quite literally, bloodlust, quote unquote, after his guest, quote unquote, was killed in Tehran. So this certainly exposes the soft underbelly of the regime's security services. And it reminds me of a quote of a former Iranian intelligence official, less than half a decade, if not a decade ago, Mr. Younesi, he was Rouhani's intelligence minister, said that no Iranian official should sleep soundly or safely at night. He was referring to how punctured the security services are. With the April 19th Israeli attack and the more recent killing of Haniyeh in Tehran, the capital of the Axis of Resistance, that quote rings ever more true.
All right, Ben, we have about a minute to the break. How do you think Iran is going to respond to this?
You know, they've already promised, be it the IRGC or the supreme leader, a harsh revenge. So there's always a non-zero chance you could have something overt and kinetic. But there's also the chance of the intensification of what is already underway in the Middle East, which is a 5, 6, 7-front proxy war against the Jewish state, part of Iran's larger ring of fire. It could be one, it could be both, and it could be delayed. But nonetheless, there is a 3-day mourning period in Tehran. So any major response will follow those 3 days.
Right. I just quickly, do you think, though, we could see a repeat of what we saw a couple of months ago, which is a direct launch of ballistic missiles from Iran, maybe this time combined with attacks from its proxies?
It is entirely possible. The question is, how much of a lesson did Iran take away from the April 19th Israeli response? Simply the fact that they couldn't claim it may have led to some more emboldenment in Tehran. But this is exactly what the regime wanted, which is that every time Israel does something, it has to entertain the non-zero chance of an overt shooting war from a formerly shadow warfighter.
All right, Behnam Ben Taleblu from the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies in Washington, D.C. Thank you for joining us on I24 News. I am going to ask our guest